Let's move on to our next guest, who is Tommy Safian, and he is the co-founder and executive director of Refoundry. What I love about your story is you're an accomplished entrepreneur, somebody who has taken social responsibility and incorporated it into everything that he does, and even taken it a step further to help others think about it as well. And when he founded, or co-founded with Cisco, his colleague sitting next to him, Refoundry, the idea here was to help those that were incarcerated re-enter and come up with a business of their own. And what we're going to hear today is all about that. So Tommy, please join me on the stage. And also Shannon Schuyler, who is a Principal Chief Purpose Officer and Corporate Responsibility Leader at PwC.
I'm going to stay standing.
Well, go ahead. Perfect. Well, 1 second. So as we get started, I think the one thing that's really important is Adam was going through and saying, who knows what to do? Who knows what to do to actually change what this system looks like? And there was nobody who was really able to say what it is. Well, we're sitting next to somebody who actually knows how to make change. And we came across Refoundry. PwC has really focused on the last year around purpose and how to activate purpose. And we've worked very closely with the Huffington Post and a section that's called What's Working? Purpose plus Profit. And one of the things we've asked for Huffington Post is to help us find amazing stories out there. Stories that can really inspire people to action and not just sit and hope things aren't happening or somebody else will do something, but really has them make sure that they stand up and that they really look at these issues and find out how they can be a part of it. And Refoundry came to us through this pretty amazing video that you had done. And it was something that resonated so much with me. I worked in a prison for 4 years during college, a maximum security prison in Jackson, Michigan. And I walked out having very different impressions around what it was like to be in prison. And I had unfortunate views of people that now I come to reflect on that were wrong. I also am called a lot, and our company and others are looking at things like ban the box and saying is the only thing that we can do, kind of going through this campaign of taking the idea off the table of whether or not we should let people say that they have been convicted of a crime or not. Is that all we can do? And what I found is the Refoundry is an answer, and it's something that I think is scalable. And so Tommy and I want to make sure to take you through something that's relatively interactive. And so we're going to have you first go through an exercise, and then we're going to show you a video, and then we're going to get into some good, tough dialogue.
So Adam spoke very eloquently about the front end of the criminal justice system. And Refoundry, I want to do a little activity that demonstrates why Refoundry is concentrating on post-incarceration. So I'm going to talk about the recidivism rate. And if everybody could please stand up. There are about 650 people in this room. We have 650,000 people coming out of prison each year. So each one of you represents 1,000 people coming out of prison each year. Welcome home. After the first year, if we could have this side of the room sit down. All of you have been rearrested and are back in the criminal justice system. Over here, only half of you have jobs, and most of those jobs are low-wage, low-income jobs, low-skill, low-wage jobs. If we could have this side over here sit down, after 3 years, you've been rearrested, and only 10% of the people on this side have jobs. And if we could have about the first 10 rows sit down, after 5 years, these are the people who are still out of prison. And most of them are in low-skill, low-wage jobs that will never get them off social service support. That's the back end of your criminal justice system at work. And that's what we're trying to address.
So everyone go ahead and take a seat. So why did you decide to do this? I mean, you had your own successful career. You were in furniture making and then this. How did you make that shift?
Well, part of it was becoming more aware of our criminal justice system and the great waste that's wrapped up in it, not only of human lives, but of all sorts of resources, including money. And the other thing was really, I had come to a point in my life where I felt I really needed more purpose. I had been fortunate enough to, earn a good enough living to provide for myself and my son, and I really felt it was time that I really needed to give back more directly. And there was an opportunity to do that.
And I think the whole notion of purpose is really interesting because you've also said that this is about giving these individuals purpose again.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things our criminal justice system does is it robs people of access to purpose. And we really look at, one of the mottos we talk about is people are people. And everybody has, someone earlier on stage here said that talent is universal, but opportunity isn't. And we really see that it's just part of being a human being. Everybody has creativity, industry, ambition. And if you give them the opportunity to fulfill that, they can go a long way. And quite honestly, 50% of what Refoundry does is just provide opportunities. As James mentioned, we just opened a door, he walked through it, and he'll take care of the rest.
As Adam was saying, there's a lot that obviously has gone on, not just what happened last Tuesday with the election, but when you look at cities and you look at the racial tension that's out there, and how do you look at that, either having more odds against folks who are coming out? How do you see that playing into how this is going to continue to progress?
Well, at Refoundry, we take a perspective that where there's obstacles, there's opportunity. And with the new election and the makeup also of our Senate and of state legislatures, we really look at focusing the spotlight on criminal justice to take a very wide lens. So, for example, the Koch brothers, who no one would mistake as racial sensitivity and humanitarians as the top of their list, their priority right now is criminal justice reform, because they see that we are spending through the spectrum of our criminal justice policy hundreds of billions of dollars a year and getting a negative return. And this is affecting all of us, not only in our tax bills, but it's also drawing money away from things like education, infrastructure, biotech, alternative energies. That are the things that drive our economy and produce opportunity for all of us and our children as time goes on. And if we're continuing to put all this money into a system that doesn't work, it's not benefiting any of us. And so we're really trying to broaden the scope of the so-called stakeholders in criminal justice reform, because when you come right down to it, it's everybody.
Right. Well, it's interesting to see, and when we were talking before, we're very strange bedfellows, right? Yes. So folks are coming together because of the economics of this issue, and that's what's helping to give it some additional visibility. I know we also talked about campaigns, right? Ban the box, or things that people think, oh, I'll just do that, or my company will take the box off, and suddenly I'm doing all I can do. Right. What else should people be doing, and how do you view campaigns like that?
Well, we have a slightly different perspective than even most people in the criminal justice reform field. And things like ban the box, campaigns like that, they're great, they're well-intentioned, but ultimately they're hemming trousers that are down by our ankles. We need a new system. And while it's important for companies and institutions to ban the box, if you think like, oh, I've done my part by that, you haven't, because that's really not going to change our system. And it's not going to change the opportunity for most of the people coming out of prison.
And so how do you take what you're doing, I mean, your model and seeing where James is and where Jean is and the things that they're doing, how do you scale this? How do you either inspire or have others be able to start their own Refoundry type model, or how do you actually look at your model and say, how can you get more people through it or engaged?
Well, we are very young. We just started a little over a year ago, and we're raising money now to scale to 18 to 25 people, and that's our unit. And once we can prove that model, we've already had over a dozen cities contact us interested in bringing our model to their communities. And once we can demonstrate that model, we can really then proliferate that. So there can be these units of 18 to 25 across. And we're really being able to provide this opportunity and at a very efficient way. So our training program, we train and retain. It's a long term. So our participants are with us for about a year before they start the incubation process. And the training, we sell the goods and services produced in the training, and that covers 70% of our operating costs. So we're very efficient. We really look to bring private sector principles into the not-for-profit world, because we do feel that there's a lot of opportunity there for revenue generation within mission that can provide not only funding, but you don't have to spend so much time looking for funding. And also, when you're generating a lot of your own revenue, it's unrestricted. And that allows you to be innovative, to discontinue things that aren't working, to take advantage of opportunities quickly. And that really has helped us grow very quickly in a short amount of time.
And so if you were looking at different organizations, so in the various different cities that people are in, how could they go about seeing if they could start something or get you there?
Well, again, that's really, we have, I should say, we have other initiatives that we do. Cisco, our co-founder, started something in Los Angeles that's very exciting that can be easily replicable in other cities. But we really have to get to that stage where we prove that first scaled model. And then from there, it would be very easy to replicate that.
And how do you see this now that you've worked with the folks in the video for as long as you have? How has it changed them as individuals?
Well, it's interesting. I'm not sure it's changed themselves. They haven't really changed as individuals. Their attitude about themselves, about their place in the world, and how they see the rest of the world has changed, and the rest of the city that they live in. They feel now valued, a part of society, in a way that they just hadn't before. But a very interesting story, if I can. My son is 8 years old. I've had him on my own since he's 1. He's my life. And one of our participants you saw, Gene, he and my son are very close. Now, Gene spent 30 years in prison for murder. And my son knows exactly what he did and knows that that's one of the worst things a human being can do. But he admires Gene. He feels safe and secure with him. And my son gets a lot out of that relationship. And he's gone through a process of seeing somebody who may have done a terrible thing, but who is not defined by that, and looking at him at the way he is today. And we have 650,000 people coming out of prison every year, and there is a lot of skill and talent, and both for us to access both personal relationships and as businesses. And we shut that down. Our current system just shuts that down. It keeps people literally as isolated as they were in prison, economically and socially. It's a terrible system. One
of the things I know when you and I spoke, that whole notion of rehabilitation was really frustrating to you.
Yeah, I don't really like that term rehabilitation, because most of the people in prison really don't need to be rehabilitated any more than any of us do. We're all works in progress. We all got problems, and really to see them as damaged in some way is I just think, it's tacitly maybe a little racist or paternalistic, and these are people who have lots of skills and talents and who have a lot to contribute, and who, they desperately want to contribute it. One of the most shocking statistics in criminal justice reform is 70% of people who earn a BS or higher when they're in prison or when they come out go into social service work. They understand what got them there, and they really understand. They really want to help others after them, who come after them.
I know one of the things also that we talked about is people having to be defined by what they did, and what they did on an individual day or one scenario. And so one of the things that we wanted to do is have everyone in the room close your eyes for a second. And Think about the worst thing that you've done to date in your life. Think about something that you've done that you're not proud of, that others may or may not know about, that's embarrassing that you did, that hurt somebody else. Now open your eyes. Think if that was the only thing somebody thought about you. You walk in the room and that's the only thing that they know. And that's how they perceive you, and every interaction they have with you is based on that one thing that you did. That's pretty hard to live with. And that's what these individuals are left with, that people only think about that thing and not what they can contribute as a human and what all those other days in their lives they were able to do. And so with that, I hope that you all take the time to learn more about the Refoundry. Thank you so much, Tommy and Cisco, for all of your incredible work.
Thank you.